Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a truly fascinating lecture that delves into the hidden, energetic rules of something millions of us do every single year. I'm talking about viewing the sunrise, or Haemaji. Whether you've stood on a freezing beach on New Year's Day or, hiked up a mountain at dawn, you've probably taken part in this global tradition. But according to the profound philosophy we're unpacking today, there's a highly specific, underlying mechanic to how we should actually be interacting with nature's energy during these moments. We're going to explore a completely new paradigm for natural energy, human purpose, and the precise spatial laws of making a wish.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever stood facing the vast ocean, the sun cresting over the horizon, and wished for, say, a promotion at work, or maybe for your family to stay healthy? It feels like the most natural thing in the world to do, right? Well, according to the framework we're looking at today, you might be making those wishes in the exact wrong place. In fact, bringing small private matters to massive centers of natural energy is considered fundamentally incorrect in this paradigm. It's an energy mismatch that basically wastes your time and potential.
So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The true meaning of Haemaji. 2. The energy of the East Sea. 3. Wishes and their proper locations. 4. Mother Nature's 3-7 law. And finally, 5. A new Haemaji paradigm.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the true meaning of Haemaji.
Over the last decade or so, flocking to the East Sea for the sunrise has become this massive, almost mindless trend. But the source material rests on a very specific view of our resources. It argues that human time is our absolute most valuable energy, not money. The idea is that we're given roughly 100 years in this physical world to leave a meaningful mark. In our youth, we build our skills, and as we mature, we're meant to do rewarding, purposeful work for humanity before we go. If we don't do that, well, our core essence just kind of dissipates. And because time is our supreme energy, how we spend it is absolutely crucial. There's a pretty heavy warning here. Events without meaning invite accidents. They waste human time without purpose. Think about it. Society gathering by the millions at the ocean just to party or follow a trend without any deeper purpose? According to the text, doing these festivals without that deeper intent actually drains our collective energy.
Moving right along to Section 2, the energy of the East Sea. So why the East Sea specifically? Why do people instinctively flock there? Now, what's really interesting about this is that 70% of the Earth's concentrated water energy is gathered right there in the East Sea. From an energetic standpoint, this immense volume of water creates massive pressure, literally a concentration of heavenly energy. People are subconsciously drawn there because we're instinctively seeking to absorb that massive concentrated force.
But it's not just about the sheer volume, it's about the type of energy. The lecture draws a sharp contrast between land and water. The mountain, or the land, represents yang energy. That's the force of strength, basics, and growth. Back when we lacked the basics for survival, we relied on the land's strength to build ourselves up. But the ocean? The ocean represents yin energy. It provides wisdom and the power for broad expansion. The idea is, once you've built your basic strength on land, you absolutely must go to the water to gain the wisdom to project that strength out into the world.
To really grasp how we connect with this wisdom, we can look at the traditional concept of aksu, which is a bowl of pure water set out during prayer. Why water, right? Because water itself acts as a frequency connector to heavenly energy. So you don't need to bring a tiny bowl of water to the beach. The vast ocean, or even a massive crater lake at a mountain peak, acts as an automatic giant aksu bowl, perfectly tuning you to the universe's frequency.
Which brings us to Section 3, wishes and their proper locations.
If the ocean is a giant frequency connector to massive natural energy, you have to be super careful about what you're transmitting through it. There's a brilliant spatial metaphor here. If your wish is purely personal, like asking for your family to be wealthy or healthy, that belongs at home, like on your veranda. If you have a slightly broader wish for your local community, you can take that up a mountain, but only about midway up. The mountain peaks and the vast oceans, those spaces are strictly reserved for massive, national, or humanitarian goals.
The philosophy is incredibly strict on this. Do not bring personal desires for wealth or health to the ocean or the mountain peak. It's just fundamentally incorrect. If you step in front of the immense, concentrated energy of the East Sea just to ask for your own household to do well, you are completely misusing the space. It's literally like using a giant supercomputer just to do basic addition.
So, how do we measure this? That's Section 4, Mother Nature's 3-7 law.
This whole hierarchy of where to make your wishes isn't just random. It's governed by a specific mathematical philosophy called the 3-7 law.
This is presented as a universal principle dictating the exact percentage of your personal desires that you have to empty out and the percentage you must dedicate to the public good to achieve different levels of leadership. It's basically a universal metric measuring a person's readiness for public service. And this brilliantly illustrates how the math breaks down. To even step foot onto the lowest rung of true public service, you have to dedicate at least 30% of your efforts entirely to the public, emptying yourself of selfish desires. But to reach the highest levels of influence, to be a true leader whose wishes actually align with the peaks and the oceans, you absolutely must cross that 70% threshold of public dedication. Let's detail how these societal roles are categorized. If you're operating between 30% and 70% public dedication, you're suited for mid-level community work, which, remember, is why your energetic wishes belong halfway up the mountain. If you exceed 70% dedication, emptying yourself almost entirely for the sake of the people, you become a true national or global leader. In this framework, nature's laws are exact. If you try to hold a leadership position without hitting these percentages of selflessness, the universe will simply correct you and you're going to face immense difficulties.
Let's wrap this all together in Section 5, a new Cheon-gi paradigm. Based on these profound laws of energy, time, and spatial hierarchy, the text urges us to change our approach to New Year's resolutions and human growth entirely. Step 1 is achieving our basic physical needs and strength using the land's energy. Once you're equipped, Step 2 is moving toward the ocean's yin energy to gather higher wisdom. Finally, Step 3 is using that wisdom to make resolutions that actually serve society. Let's move to and see how this builds.
Because here is the absolute core takeaway. You must prepare a mindset of public service before you even step onto the beach. If you're going to the East Sea to receive its massive energy, you've got to first cultivate thoughts about how you'll help your country, your society, or humanity. You have to come with a wish big enough to match the ocean.
Interestingly, the source material frames this not just as timeless wisdom, but as an urgent modern shift. Closing out 2012 and opening 2013 is pinpointed here as a major turning point in human consciousness. From that year forward, the era of blindly taking energy for selfish reasons essentially ended, and a new era began, one where we have to actively align with these grander laws of nature. If we cling to small-minded, selfish thinking now, our lives will just become increasingly difficult.
It is a completely transformative way to look at something as simple as watching a sunrise, isn't it? It turns a casual holiday tradition into a profound test of our own life's purpose. Knowing this intricate hierarchy of energy, the stark difference between the mountain and the ocean, and that 3-7 law of public dedication, what kind of resolution will you bring to the ocean next time? Will you leave your personal wishes on the veranda and step to the water ready to change the world? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the deeper mechanics of the world around you.